And it's great to be here with you, and I'm very thankful to Mediapost and to Lisa and to Steve Smith for helping organize the content in the program today, and also, of course, to all our sponsors. It's a great opportunity to be here. I'm a first-timer. I'm having a great time so far, meeting a lot of great people. Let's see, and I have a slide. Oh, good. There's a slide on the screen. This thing looks familiar. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about going beyond just the short-term sales and then looking at how we can build brand equity using search. So short introduction, and Lisa mentioned it a bit. I'm a 20-year veteran of the automotive industry, all with Volvo. My first job was as a global marketing analyst for the XC90 Dream Team. That's our top-of-the-range, top-selling SUV. And I, in that job, helped bring that car to market for the first time, and I learned the importance of customer focus and data-driven planning for setting up pricing and volumes and market share projections, et cetera. Then I moved over to the sales organization, worked in the field for a long time with dealers, did a lot of events work with customers at auto shows, moved into the competence development side of the business. So I actually led our training programs for 6 years, which included leading all the events and auto shows. Then finally, I moved back into marketing. I led our CRM team, gained experience there with data modeling and, of course, privacy and data protection. And then I moved into digital marketing, and I led our Tier 1 or national volvocars.com/US website, as well as managed the website program for our over 300 Volvo retailers in the United States. And then last few years, I've moved into a newly created role in the organization, which is I am called the manager of KPIs, analytics, search, and planning. So I kind of kept my search hat from the digital days, but now I'm actually helping to leverage all the data and help it for things like media planning, but also other things in the company. So today I'm going to speak about the importance of balancing brand marketing with conversion marketing while staying focused on your consumer, coming from my perspective as a kind of hybrid of data geek and search marketer with a customer and dealer background. So I want to start with the idea that consumers are people. And some of you may be familiar with this quote. At Volvo Cars, our founders, Assa Gabrielsson and Gustav Larsson, in 1927, in our very first sales manual, wrote that cars are driven by people, therefore. And some of you, many of you may know the rest of the quote, and it's also on the screen. Therefore, the guiding principle behind everything we make at Volvo is, and must remain, safety. Now, since 1927, when the founders of Volvo Cars decided to focus on safety as one of the core values of our company, we have been a leader in that field, and that will never change. Cars were generally not so safe back in 1927, so Volvo was addressing a need for the consumer in the marketplace for that particular time. But the real insight in that quote from our founders is cars are driven by people. So the consumer need that was addressed in 1927 was safety. It wasn't just a business imperative, it was a moral imperative. Back during a time when corporate responsibility wasn't really a thing yet. The real message in that sales manual was that we, Volvo, needed to be a customer-focused organization, knowing our customers and fulfilling their needs. So what does that mean as we approach 2020, as we go into a new decade? Of course it means we remain at the forefront of safety and innovation for safety because there is a need for it, but we also have other important needs in the modern world. In fact, Volvo is redefining personal mobility. We want to provide consumers the freedom to move in a personable, sustainable, and safe way. We do this by putting the consumer's needs first, using the best available technology to serve them, inventing and innovating with new technology where none already exists, and then combining technologies to deliver new experiences. We are committed to pursuing the following visions. First, that no one should be seriously injured or killed in a new Volvo car. Second, we want to give back 1 week of quality time per year through a customer's relationship with their new Volvo car and the Volvo brand. And third, and we've announced this publicly, all of these we've announced publicly, we want about 50% of the cars we produce and sell to be electric. And we're making really good progress on all three of these, and we can see this actually come to become a reality from the vision in the next few years. So, how do you go to market with a consumer-first mindset? Naturally, Volvo takes the needs of shoppers very seriously. So I want to share a bit about how we are using data and innovation to make the consumer journey better for the consumer and for Volvo. Volvo is a challenger brand. We are a small company when we look at our most direct competitors. For example, the German luxury car brands. Now, I'm not allowed to mention a name of any of these competitors on the stage today, but for example, I can tell you one of their initials is BMW. We are growing very quickly, and we are gaining market share in the segments we compete in. But there is still a lot of opportunity for growth when we look at sales results. Some of our competitors invest more in just television advertising alone than we have to work with in our entire marketing budget. So we continue our sales growth, and to do that, we have to be smart about having the right advertising messages to the right audience, at the right time, on the right device, in the right place, and in the right context. That starts by knowing our consumer, by talking to them, by listening to them, by observing their behavior, and by predicting the next best action that helps the consumer meet their goals. We must be smarter than our competitors because we want to invest our revenues as much as we can back into innovation and improving our products and our consumer experience rather than just more advertising. We need to be smarter because we can't outshout our competition. We're not big enough. So the marketing landscape is rapidly evolving. One of my former managers and mentors, Linda Gangieri, actually spoke at a Mediapost Mobile Summit back in 2012 here, not so long ago. And at that time, she spoke about and correctly predicted that mobile phone usage and mobile advertising was on the rise and that Volvo and other marketers needed to embrace that trend. And indeed, according to Google, in 2015, mobile searches reached 50% of all search queries. But there are even more trends today that will impact the future for Volvo and for all of us. I'll talk about a few of them. One is the idea of ubiquitous connectivity. Big words. According to Gartner, next year we can expect to see over 20 billion internet-connected devices. Not just smartphones and PCs, but dedicated function devices or objects such as vending machines, refrigerators, jet engines, washing machines, and yes, connected cars. Volvo is already a leader in the connected car space. In fact, even Amazon just announced a couple of weeks ago about a smart connected oven. Maybe some of you have seen this. It's really cool. It's like you can use the Alexa app to scan packaged foods, and then Alexa can give you recipes or even cook them for you, or at least tell you when the oven's preheated. It's like this combination microwave convection oven thing. It's so cool. And these types of things are only going to increase. You've heard about this Internet of Things. It's coming. It's real. The growth of 5G mobile and broadband satellite networks, such as the SpaceX Starlink network that's supposed to go live in 2020, will enable more data collection and other cool things like car-to-car communication for applications such as avoiding collisions, traffic mitigation, or automated reporting of road conditions, including the temperature, if the road's wet or not, and so on. Now, voice search. That's another trend, and I know probably according to the survey that Lisa just shared, you think it's one of the most overhyped trends. It has been a buzzword and catchphrase for a while now, but it is a trend we still have to pay attention to. 20% of queries on Google's mobile app and Android devices are voice searches. And that's a number that was shared by Google CEO in 2016 when they launched Google Home. It's probably a good bet to bet that since then, because they haven't really released any data since then, it's greater than 20% now, because now a lot of the growth should be coming from smart home assistant devices and not just mobile voice searches. And ComScore, probably you've heard this quote. It's one of the most widely quoted figures in relation to voice search. ComScore is saying that in 2020, 50% of all searches will be voice searches. Now, there are some critics that are disputing that, But directionally, the trend is correct. Soon it is expected that, just like email and smartphones, voice search will become a daily part of our lives, replacing the traditional way of searching by typing your queries. You know, you can speak 3 times faster than you can type. And the pace of growth in this area is unprecedented, even outpacing the adoption of mobile devices and wearables. Remember, mobile searches took a few years to reach 50%. Voice search trend is happening faster now. Google's voice assistant is now available on more than 400 million devices. So that's things like Google Home, your Android phones and tablets, even iPhones, headphones, TVs, watches, and more. Amazon reported in 2017 that its Echo Dot became the top-selling product available from any manufacturer across all categories on its platform during their holiday shopping season. We're now in 2019. Still very popular. Cortana, the voice assistant from Microsoft, had over 100 million users by 2016, and 25% of the searches on the Windows 10 taskbar on desktop devices were voice. All of these data points point towards one important fact. Voice-enabled services are getting popular among consumers at a relentless pace. And here's an interesting study. Almost 20% of all voice search queries are triggered by just 25 keywords. So Google's answer box that is displayed at the top of your search results is the same answer box or the same answers that are given by Google's Home Assistant and Google Home device. And an analysis of these Google voice search answers by SEO Clarity revealed that over 20% of them, of the 20% of the featured snippets were represented by just 25 keywords. The most frequently occurring terms, you might guess, are how, what, and best, showing that brands should focus on content that answers queries with informational intent. And this, I think, as marketers, should really make us think about how the search intent and the data we're collecting is connected to our content strategy, especially for our website and owned properties. Now, it appears that so far, none of the search providers have figured out how to monetize the voice search trend yet. No one is really selling voice search ads today, as far as I know. And I think one of the comments on the survey was, voice search. Probably because you can't buy voice search. But someone's going to figure that out. Another important trend is the idea of unintended loyalty. And it's not just related to voice search, but really related also to online e-commerce services like Amazon Prime that remember your purchase history and make it really easy to reorder and restock at the right time. You can order the same vitamin brand, for example, as you did last time. When you start to run out, you just click the Order Again button, or you can even subscribe. Or ask your assistant to order more laundry detergent. It, or she, if she is Alexa, will order the same brand as last time. Now, this really benefits the consumer by providing convenience, saving time and money, and even by suggesting other bundled products or services that are often needed, like installation services. The downside to this is that brands will need to fight even harder than before to win new first-time business, and will have a very difficult time getting consumers to switch brands. Not because the consumer is necessarily loyal to one brand or product or service, but because shopping services from Amazon, Google, and others make it so easy to just say, order it again. And this is driving another trend, the trend I mentioned already, subscription. Now, Volvo is actually an innovator and one of the leaders in this subscription trend, at least in the automotive space, by providing our Care by Volvo subscription service in most states. A Care by Volvo subscription includes your new car payment, insurance coverage, and maintenance in just one monthly fee. You drive a new car every 24 months, not unlike a subscription to a mobile phone service. I mean, think about it. No one buys CDs or DVDs anymore. You're not downloading like music to your phone anymore. You usually just stream it with a subscription service like Spotify or Netflix. And this is a great benefit to consumers, providing not only convenience, but stability and predictability in their monthly finances and their cash flow. Well, this also benefits Volvo and Volvo dealers by generating more customer loyalty, which means more sales, which means reduced selling expenses and overhead, higher penetration of service being performed by Volvo dealers, and more control over the disposition of pre-owned cars. When these new subscription cars come out of their subscription service, they can be reconditioned and they can be brought back to like-new status and sold again, which improves residual values, which lowers financing costs and builds trade-in equity for non-subscriber consumers. And it also helps keep with Volvo's sustainability commitment, helping to keep cars on the road for a longer life cycle, keeping cars out of the landfill, and also helping Volvo have more control over how cars can be recycled to reduce environmental impact. So then, here's kind of the key, I think, to this whole discussion, and it's the rise of machine learning and full funnel search. Now, machine learning is developing rapidly, and it's now allowing marketers to leverage AI-driven marketing models to automate, to optimize, and supplement data processing so data becomes actionable, predicting behaviors and next best actions, anticipating consumer needs, identifying audiences, personalizing messages, and even providing analytics and insights that can be used to help produce new and improved creative content. We learn from each consumer interaction, which helps to drive towards purchase, but also to improve loyalty and advocacy after the sale. Products that utilize ML, like discovery ads from Google or MSAN from Microsoft, will help further enable search across the purchase funnel. Traditionally, paid search has been thought of as the go-to bottom funnel marketing channel or advertising tactic to drive efficiency and conversion. In the past, upper funnel or discovery type of search terms and keywords had higher CPCs and lower conversion rates, but this is now changing. Volvo is one of the first in the automotive category to successfully leverage these new tools from Google and Microsoft. For example, the MSAN product from Microsoft includes a display network that combines search signals, Microsoft's AI, and their audience graph, which includes LinkedIn. And we were able to use this product to sustain and extend one of our product launches last year, driving upper funnel scale with efficient cost, which in turn drove lower funnel conversions. We were also able to identify a previously untapped audience from LinkedIn, which we were able to apply across all of our advertising channels, including display and video. Another benefit to the improved AI is improved brand and ad safety. This is one way companies are working to overcome some of the recent, well-documented concerns about offensive content. For example, one platform had ads running over videos claiming to support the terrorist group ISIS in 2017, and it cost them a lot of their big advertisers for a time until they were able to correct the problem. So, how do you find a balance? How do you build brand equity in search? So back to the original idea, how can marketers balance driving optimal performance while managing their brand equity with a consumer focus? So it became popular in the 1990s to incorporate MMM. I've heard it mentioned here today, which is good. Marketing mix modeling. And this improves performance outcomes in advertising. At Volvo, we have built an MMM together with our media advertising partner Mindshare. And of course, we are using it to gain efficiency and effective performance gains. Remember, I said we had to be smart with our advertising dollars. What is MMM? It's a model built by econometricians using statistical analysis tools such as multivariate regression on various time series data sets to estimate the impact of various marketing tactics, for example, within the marketing mix or the different advertising channels, how they impact sales and profit. For us, these data sets include more than 100 independent variables, including economic data, such as the Consumer Confidence Index, the Michigan study, fuel prices, stock market performance, and unemployment rate. We look at weather, and we look at our own and competitive advertising spend levels in various different channels across various product categories. Pricing, we look at discounting, we look at inventory supplies, we look at PR impressions, and the list goes on and on. We can then forecast the impact of future sets of tactics in a bunch of what-if scenarios. It is most often used to optimize our advertising mix and promotional tactics with respect to sales revenue or profit. We also have the added benefit of knowing our predicted risk towards our sales targets right down to the nameplate level with an amazing degree of accuracy. So we use our model to optimize our advertising mix to mitigate risk as much as possible within our planned budget. There are limitations, however. First, I think there might be only a handful of people at Volvo that can even explain what MMM is, let alone how the model we have built works. Some of you may relate. It is complicated, and people have the natural instinct sometimes to fear what they do not understand. So in the beginning, some years ago, when we first started using the model to optimize our media plan, many of our executives, especially some of those in the finance community, likened what the team was doing to smoke and mirrors or voodoo. I have a smoke and mirrors slide. So it is imperative to help democratize knowledge of the process and the model across your organization. One thing I found useful is a scorecard, which tracked our predictions on an ongoing basis and then measured the predictions against the actual results. This helped to build confidence, and now, while there's still a few within Volvo that don't understand really what MMM is, the discussion has gone from it being smoke and mirrors, and now they're kind of thinking it's magic. In fact, one executive actually asked me to help him next season with his fantasy football draft strategy. He thinks our MMM model can do that. Next, MMM models are designed to say how much to spend in each channel, not how or with or which partner or publisher. The models determine what to invest, but not why or even where. So the model needs to be continuously updated to make sure it remains valid over time. And there needs to be other analytical tools outside of the MMM to evaluate partners, tactics, messaging, and audiences within each channel. The model assumes that performance within a channel remains constant over time, but of course, fresh advertising creative or improved messaging or a new publishing partner can change the effectiveness of a channel, which can influence the output of the model over time. It is a lot of work to build and maintain a model with accurate quality data, with controls in place to measure accuracy, such as backtesting historical results against predicted results, and looking for the proportion of the variance from a dependent variable that's explained by the independent variable, your R-square or your mean average percentage error. The other issue that is important to consider is that the focus on short-term sales that the MMM demands can significantly undervalue the importance of longer-term brand equity building activities. For example, the MMM will have a bias towards price promotion to drive sales and mitigate risk towards profit or sales volumes. Also, when used for media mix optimization, MMMs have a clear bias in favor of time-specific media, such as TV, versus less time-specific media, such as out-of-home or print. Biases can also occur when comparing national media versus geographically or demographically targeted media. This needs to be taken into account when building media plans. So the MMM, for example, can tell me how much of my budget could be invested into paid search, and within search, how much of the investment should go to a particular nameplate, like our XC90. But it does not tell me how much should go towards Google or Bing or other third-party search partners, many of them in the room. Our really awesome Mindshare search team, Sean's here from Mindshare today, thank you for coming. They help us to overcome that by using DDA, or data-driven attribution, to choose keywords and ads to help convert HVTs or HVAs, high-value tasks or high-value actions on our website that move consumers further towards purchase. We can even measure location data now to see if a consumer exposed to an ad visited one of our dealerships, and then we can also use that as a factor towards optimization. The MMM also tells me and tells us the halo effect of channels and nameplates working together. For instance, I know my paid search investments are more efficient when I am also flighting on television. And I know that if I advertise one nameplate, it will also drive sales for other nameplates. The key is to know which channels and nameplates give consumers the impulse to type Volvo into the search bar. But the model will never tell me to invest dollars into a pure brand campaign. For example, our EVA or EVA campaign from earlier this year. The Equal Vehicles for All, or EVA campaign, was designed to build awareness around the idea that cars should protect everyone. Some people are less safe on the road than others. When a woman steps into a car to drive, she may assume she's safe. But in 2019, many automakers still produce cars based on data from average male-sized crash test dummies. For this reason, women run a higher risk of getting injured in collisions than men, but not at Volvo. Our traffic accident research team has compiled real-world data since the 1970s to better understand what happens during a collision. And what Volvo sees is that women and men appear equally in this data, which is why we believe they should be equally represented in testing. With the EVA initiative, we are sharing results of more than 40 years of our research. And by letting everyone download the research, we hope to make every car safer. Because at Volvo, we will always put people first. So I think we can all agree this is a really important message that builds brand equity for Volvo, promotes awareness for the brand, and advances positive brand imagery and opinion. But it is also not a purchase driver in the short term. The MMM cannot accurately gauge the impact on short-term sales and thus would not be able to provide a recommendation on how much to invest in such a campaign. In fact, the model might tell us not to do it at all. Now clearly, this type of campaign can help to bring more consumers into the upper funnel once they are in market for a new vehicle, and perhaps the improved brand equity can help to improve pricing power, with some customers willing to pay more of a premium for not only safety, but because they share the values of a people-first and inclusive brand like Volvo. The answer then is to have brand equity measurement in place and understand over a longer time frame, perhaps even several years, what the impact of brand advertising is on brand metrics. This is one of the things that helped Volvo to reposition the brand and move further up market recently, along with highly acclaimed and awarded products that serve as reasons to believe our brand story. It is important to commit a portion of your advertising budget to brand building initiatives, playing the long game, over a period of years, and looking less at what's happening in the short term and more at what's happening in the long term. And you have to measure against not only yourself, but your competitors. You must improve at a pace that is greater than the competition. It is not enough to just improve, lest you risk falling behind the competitive landscape. Now, the structure of your teams is important. Let me go back. It's not going to work. The structure of your teams is important. So I'll tease a bit for this afternoon's roundtable discussions. How you structure your teams are important. Since search is now becoming a full funnel activity, it is important for your search team to sit and work closely with your other teams, display, video, planning, and so on, so that insights can be shared between channels to accelerate the pace of improvements and optimizations. It is very important to democratize the sharing of your data, internally and, where possible, externally. And this should be a structured process. There's a lot of debate these days about insourcing or outsourcing certain media and advertising functions in the organization, or even now hybrid approaches to this. And there are pros and cons for each approach. It is important to know them before making a commitment towards any one strategy. There is a lot of debate around also globalization, regionalization, and localization. This is also true within Volvo. For search, it is vitally important that each of these factors is considered not just from a communications perspective, but also to minimize the impact of various parts of the organization bidding against one another for search terms. It may also be true that certain parts of the consumer journey are better communicated at a global or national level, and other parts more locally, perhaps from a dealer or a franchisee. So I hope I've at least helped set the duck for the rest of the conference, and you start thinking about search not just in the traditional way of bottom funnel conversion, but how can it be used as a tactic together with other media channels to really get people thinking more about your brand, drive the upper funnel, and have more corn to harvest, I guess you would say, when people are in market. Thank you so much for having me, and I'll answer any questions now if time allows. Okay.
Does anyone have any questions? I actually wanted to find out in terms of, because a lot of it you're really talking brand equity right now, and you talked in the beginning how you're much more competitive with that competitor that you wouldn't mention,
Right.
BMW. Do you feel that this type of research that you've been doing and this sort of, delving into the brand more so than necessarily just sales has been a big part of that?
Yeah, I do really believe that. And again, the time frame is different. When you're looking at sales performance and measuring performance, you really are looking at how do I make the month, how do I make the quarter, how do I make the target for the year. When you look at brand, it takes a lot longer time to change consumer perceptions and awareness about a brand. It was Ogilvy that said that advertising is more of a light fog than a sledgehammer, right? You can't just beat the customer into believing what you say about your brand. It has to also align with their beliefs. And your brand values and your brand proof points, your reasons to believe, have to agree with what the customer believes. So there's definitely a place for it. And I think brands that are really good at telling their brand story, and I think specifically about Nike when I think about that is a great example. Those brands are able to get people interested to start shopping with them. And yes, probably competitors too, but at least if you're on the consideration set from the beginning, and you're giving people reasons beyond just the product and service itself, but the experience and what the brand really stands for. And yes, this is a brand I can rely on and believe in. I think that definitely helps all through the funnel. It's just a lot harder to measure. And you're talking measurement in terms of years rather than just months and weeks.
But they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Rob with Purple. I wanted to ask, as you've seen kind of the race towards EV, other brands have been more resistant, it seems, to kind of take that path. Do you think Volvo has an advantage there because I guess their mantra has been always safety and peace of mind, and it kind of goes hand in hand with progress?
Yeah, no doubt. Yes, there have been brands that are hesitant, and even if you look at the market today, it's largely concentrated in the U.S. at least to California and the West Coast, and there's some activity on the East Coast and in the South, but it's really been driven a lot by Tesla, to be honest. Having said that, all the pundits out there are saying that it's coming. Volvo, I think, definitely has a technological edge because of our consumer-first approach. We're designing cars that people want. And, of course, our commitment to sustainability. So, of course, how you charge the car is important, and how electricity is generated is important. But I think that's a conversation that Volvo can help have with society. And we're saying we're providing a means for transportation. We're providing you the freedom to move in a safe and sustainable and a personal way. It's up to the rest of society to say, how can we generate that electricity safely? But definitely we see growth, and we have some pretty aggressive internal targets we've set for ourselves to transition towards that. In the short to medium term, a lot more sales of plug-in hybrid electric vehicles that you're going to see. But then eventually, like I mentioned, we hope to be by around 2025 or so, 50% of our fleet globally will be pure electric. So it's definitely coming, and we hope to be a part of that emergence of that trend.
Okay, great. All right, so Trevor, again, thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to our next presenter, Diane Siddon of